Wrestling podcasts have taken over the world. Nearly everyone even remotely associated with the industry has one, and yet there always seems to be a thirst for more. There's just something enjoyable about hearing people talk about the sport of kings, and WhatCulture has one too, so make sure you go and listen, you'll like it. As there are so many, it can be tough to decide what to listen to and what to leave to one side, but that's what I'm here for, to run down the best of the best and give you an idea of where to dip your audio hat, which is not a thing. A personal shout out from me as well to the Laps fan. Get in that ass. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and this is the 10 best wrestling podcasts right now. Number 10, 83 Weeks. Let's be honest, 83 Weeks featuring Eric Bischoff and Conrad Thompson didn't have the best start. The former head of WCW just didn't seem willing to play ball, so most episodes revolved around Bischoff getting mad and Conrad doing his best to pull out some information. As the two got more comfortable with each other though, this changed. Eazy-E was still angry almost constantly, but his trust in Thompson clearly grew to the point he was happier to give more opinion and conjecture on how he saw the rise and fall of his company. Much like his other ventures, it's Thompson who makes this work as he puts himself in the position of the wrestling fan and asks all the pertinent questions. And of course, you can bet your bottom dollar that every episode will insult the Wrestling Observer in some fashion. Such is the way when we're talking about those within promotions, but still, 83 Weeks is a good nostalgia trip and nothing else, and having someone who lived through it all gives it the colour it needs. Number 9, E&C's Pot of Awesomeness. When Edge and Christian are good, they're great. The problem is inconsistency, as every now and then an episode comes along which lacks the excitement or fun that you may expect. However, no one understands their audience more than the former tag team champs, and it's here where they absolutely shine. Never holding back and more than happy to not only be honest about themselves but the current product in general, it's also a treat to hear Christian's grasp on in-ring psychology, which is as good as rumours have always made out. The man is underrated to say the least. The true high points often come when E&C have a current wrestler on to interview. Never trying to steal the spotlight and giving their guest a chance to stand tall, the whole goal of doing this seems to be to get the person in question over as much as possible. That's nice. In short, Edge and Christian just get it, and when people get it, they're so easy to listen to. Number 8, Morgan Webster's Wrestling Friends. The British equivalent to Colt Cabana's Art of Wrestling, Morgan Webster offers a wonderful platform to the UK product, especially talent that is slowly starting to gain attention as the scene continues to get bigger and bigger. Doing this since 2016, Webster gives us a fascinating insight into performers either about to head on over to WWE as well as those who have more than one story to tell. It's true this can often fall into stereotypical territory, but that's not a slight. Hearing about people's favourite matches and whatnot is always interesting, and Morgan's informal style means his guests open up far more than you're expecting. So it's good, and a great way to expand your brand away from just what you do between the ropes. Number 7, Wrestle Me. Fans of the Football Ramble podcast have probably noticed Pete Donaldson make odd references to wrestling during discussions on this show, but those nominal mentions are just about all he's got in his locker compared to comedy writer superfan and Wrestle Me co-host Mark Haynes. The pair combine wisdom and whimsy, reviewing every WrestleMania, with Mark playing the human version of Wikipedia, whereas Pete tries to understand what the hell is going on. It's always enjoyable as the two try to focus on the weirder side of wrestling, as well as heaping praise whenever they can on Lord Alfred Hayes. Just over 30 episodes in as I say these words, the show is still only up to WrestleMania 11, with pay-per-views split over digestible half-an-hour rants, with further fun coming thanks to their new fascinating interest in SummerSlam. It's different, and different is good. Number 6, Art of Wrestling. Would we have experienced the wrestling podcast boom if it wasn't for Colt Cabana? Probably not. Miles ahead of the game, Cabana has been doing Art of Wrestling since 2010 and managed to keep it interesting from day one. It's also evolved as time has gone on. Originally focused around a singular interview, it's now more of a travel blog featuring multiple guests and documenting Colt's journeys on the road. Never anything but honest and always happy to share his thoughts on his own WWE experience. By this point, his run of guests is ridiculous too. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Daniel Bryan, Bruno Sammartino, and of course, CM Punk. Few podcasts do such a good job in providing a window into where wrestling is at the time of recording, and Colt's laid-back style suits that perfectly. Also, it's pretty much always positive. I like that. Positivity is good. Number 5, XBuck 12360. The best thing about Sean Waltman's podcast is hearing how nice of a dude he clearly is. Always open to opinion and always happy to give his, he never craps over anybody. It's like you're listening to a very smart and experienced man who opens his brain up in the form of an audio show. XBuck is so well educated on wrestling that he's always got a fascinating take on what's happening in either WWE or outside of it. Plus, he's got a knack for having the right guests on at the right time. He had Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega just days before their New Japan clash. Splash, for example. Today, he's built a reputation for himself too, meaning as soon as any big event is over, you owe it to yourself to listen to the former 1-2-3 Kid. He's hardly ever wrong, and even if you don't agree, you'll still respect his point. Win-win. Number 4, something to wrestle with. Conrad Thompson has absolutely built his brand thanks to the amazing inside information he's able to squeeze out of his co-hosts, but saying that's the be-all and end-all is stupid. He took a passion project and came up with a format that's so good to listen to. That's not just something anybody can do. He also used this momentum to fire the flames of StarCast, and his sheer passion for all things wrestling is infectious. You've also got to credit him for always sticking to the hard line of questioning that we as fans want to hear. Something to wrestle with is his major success story though, as Conrad stumbled across gold by putting Bruce Pritchard on trial once a week and never letting nonsense run wild. Even with the long running times, it remains entertaining from start to finish, and the amount of records they've smashed in just 2 years is ridiculous. It shows no signs of slowing down either, and will probably be the front runner for some time to come. Number 3, the New Generation Project. The usual rhetoric is the New Generation era sucked, whereas the Attitude Era was the best thing to ever happen in the history of life. It's true to a certain extent, but also unfair, which is why dedicated fan Stuart Brooks used the New Generation Project to talk friends Paul Scrivens and Adam White through this bizarre period. A must hear just from the sheer amount of research Brooks puts in to ensure you know exactly what was happening at the time of the pay-per-view. The podcast seamlessly blends a huge amount of information with loads of analysis. It also balances things very well, as Stuart is the Bret Hart / Shawn Michaels-esque anchor for the chaos around him. There are few podcast presenters as informed as he, and his quick-fire answers to the various questions are mainly thanks to his extensive inbuilt knowledge. Much like the product itself, for those that lived through the 1993 to 1998 Dark Age, this is clearly a labour of love. Number 2, OSW Review. A lot of people describe OSW Review as side-splittingly funny as they go through wrestling's greatest and grottiest moments. Led by Jay Hunter and 2 friends, the trio just rip through wrestling's past with insightful observations, which is bolstered by the footage created by countless loyal and talented contributors. Perhaps unlike every other podcast in this list, however, OSW Review is less about having something to fill the time on commute and more about actually stopping to enjoy the show. The visual element makes each episode an event in its own right, and they've kept up with elite content in a crowded marketplace. Each monthly episode comes with a level of excitement, and given that they almost tiptoe near the 3-hour mark, the OSW boys have made an art of making their podcast about the show substantially more entertaining than the original broadcast. Number 1, post-wrestling. If you want to keep up with wrestling without watching it, you tune into Ups and Downs. Obviously. When you're done with that though, you should absolutely check out John Pollock's and Wai Ting's post-wrestling. Emerging from the ashes of live audio wrestling when it was deemed surplus to requirements in 2017, John and Wai picked up from where they left off and continued to prove that their unique chemistry made for entertaining podcast listening. They never hold back either, because as well as Raw and SmackDown, they endeavour to cover as many promotions as possible, including over here in the UK. You can even get retro content and Q&As if you just can't get enough of what they're offering. Informed, irreverent and entertaining, there are few presenting combos as enjoyable who also threaten to go off on a whim.